Mr. Ryan Mickler, founder of Four, father of Four, and founder
Founder.
of
I
Order of
definitely
Man. But
founded them.
you
There
founded
was
them
somebody
too.
else involved, but I did found them.
you you founded them for sure. And we're here to
That's
talk
right.
about something that today that I think that too little of us talk about as men, because we try to hold it together. And that's we're going to talk about the big D word today. 41% of first marriages right now, at least last stats that I looked at, end in divorce. 60% of second marriages, 73% of third marriages. Most of these are initiated by women. And chances are that you know a guy who's been affected by this or who is going through this right now, and he's probably not talking about it. You might not be talking about it with him. I know my parents are divorced. My mom is double divorced, and my parents are unimaginably amicable. They're still like friends. They met when they were in high school. And yet, when we get around that topic, you can still tell that there's some emotion about it. You can still
Mm.
tell that they're still carrying some feelings about it. And I don't know how you feel about this, Ryan, but not every marriage can or should be saved, and not every ending is failure. But I want to get into this with you because this is something that I have seen you really get into recently. And I just want to hand it over and ask you, what is it that we're not talking about, man?
Yeah, I mean that's a broad question.
It's a broad brush.
But let me just say this. I think the reason we don't talk about it is what you had just said is that you had said something to the effect of not every ending is a failure or something like that. Yeah, it's not because it takes two to tango, right? Like if you decide to bail and jump ship and there's some things that you might engage in that I would say that's a definite failure on your part as a man. But I can't tell you how often because I went through my own divorce. It finalized 3 years ago. This in March. Through it was 3 years ago when it was finalized. So 3.5 years of going through this process at this point. And I can't tell you how many guys have said to me, well, God doesn't allow this to happen, or God can fix every marriage, and I can't believe you bail on your family. And what the men who say that fail to realize is it actually takes two to tango. If it were up to me, I'd still be married. I did everything that I could to try to salvage the marriage and rebuild the marriage. And by the time I got to it, it was a little too late, too late at that point. So yeah, not everything is within our control. And that's one of the things that I've had to really learn over the past 3.5 years is that we could have all the desires and goals and dreams and ambitions and all the things that we want to have with regards to our relationship with the woman that we love. And also, she's her own sovereign human being who can make her own decisions. So you've got to let some of that go. And yeah, we don't want to talk about it in the context of failure because it makes us feel inadequate, right? Like I did this, I didn't do this, I should have showed up this way, I could have done this better. And also what I've seen, especially as I've talked with guys about their own divorces over the past 3 years, is that it's an indictment on them. And a lot of guys are very ego driven. I have ego too. All of us do. So we can get driven by ego. And if we communicate that with somebody, what it says to them is, I'm not as good of a leader as I could be. I can't keep a woman around. All these toxic phrases and ideologies that we adopt as doctrine and scripts in our behavior. And it ends up making it really, really difficult to talk about what I believe is probably, barring maybe the death of a loved one, your children, your wife, somebody close to you, is probably the darkest time in your life. And more men need to address it, talk about it, the real issues, what's going on, what isn't going on, where you were culpable, where you weren't, and get to the root of what's really happening.
Mhm. Well, let's dig into those things. I don't know where you want to start with diving into all of that. That's a lot. But one of the things that was coming up in my head, and I see this with the guys that come through the order that they've either talked about the D word or they're going through divorce right now, that really have done everything that they possibly could at this point. And we've worked on it together and it's still not working. So
Yeah.
You mentioned that a second ago. Where was I dropping the ball? And going all in to make sure that we are putting in all the effort necessary to repair. But what do you want to dive into this?
Well, I mean, about your point of did I do everything? I think when a man is confronted with divorce, and the statistics are there, the overwhelming majority of divorces are initiated by women. And when a woman tells her husband that she wants a divorce, on average, she's already been thinking about it for 24 plus months. So by the time that she comes and talks with you about it, she's not thinking about it. She's already decided. She's done the logistics. She's figured out her exit strategy. She probably has talked with lawyers or some sort of informal legal counsel. She's definitely talked with her family about it, and you're the last to know about it. And this is why so many guys feel like they've been completely blindsided. And I felt that way too. But in hindsight, there were signs that I saw that were leading to this outcome, but I didn't take it as seriously as I should have because women don't communicate like that. So I really got into alcohol abuse, substance abuse. I shouldn't say substance abuse because it makes it sound like more than alcohol. It was just alcohol abuse. And I really became disengaged from the family. And she felt like, I imagine, just based on what she said, that she felt like she had to do everything. Her role, my role. I remember her telling me at one point as we were initially going through this that she was covering for me. My daughter at the time, who was probably 8 or 9 years old, would ask, well, what's dad doing? Like, why isn't dad tucking me in? And the truth was I was passed out on the couch in the living room. And she would say, well, dad's tired from a long day of work. So to her credit, she was covering for me and trying to put that best foot forward. But the reality is I was passed out. And there were a lot of red flags that I missed and I overlooked that I wish I would have seen sooner. I remember when I was really heavy into drinking, well, she said to me, Ryan, I told you about how upset I was about your drinking and you ignored it. And I said, okay, can you tell me what you said? Because I don't remember you telling me that if I didn't clean this up, we're going to go through a divorce. Like, what did you actually say? What were the words that you used? And I wasn't challenging her. I was being curious. I really wanted to know. And I'll never forget the answer. She said, I told you that I was really worried about your drinking. It's like, okay, let's pause this conversation real quick because I'm worried about your drinking. And if you don't stop drinking, I'm going to divorce you are two totally different conversations. But this is how women communicate. And this is a big problem between men and women. And it needs to be fixed by both. Women need to be more direct with men. You don't say, I'm worried about your drinking. You say, hey, you're drinking and it's impacting your leadership abilities as a father. And I don't like it. And I'm questioning the marriage. That's what a woman ought to say if she really cares about the relationship. And if a man really cares about the relationship, then what he ought to do is hear the concerns of his wife and emphasize them by about 200 to 300%. So if she says to you, hey, I'm frustrated that you get home late every day, amplify that by about 300%, meaning, hey, it makes me feel like garbage. It makes me feel unimportant. It makes me feel like you don't care about me or the family and all you care about is work. Or it makes me feel like maybe there's somebody else that you're spending time with when you come home late from work. Whatever she says, amplify it by about 300%. And you're going to be better off when you do that. But nobody talks about that. And women are here giving us soft language because that's how women communicate. They're relational. And men are hearing something different than what is actually happening because we're directional. Like I could come to you and I could say, if you're a close friend of mine, can I swear on this podcast? Are we good with that?
Good, go for it. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So I could come to you and I could say, hey man, you're fucking up, dude. Like you're putting on a few pounds and I know you're fit, but if I saw that you were slipping, I'd be like, dude, why are you 20 pounds? I haven't seen you for a month or two and now you're 20 pounds heavier. Like what the fuck is going on with you? And men will hear that and will resonate with that. but that's not how women communicate. So there's a big disconnect between the way sexes communicate, and it creates some real problems in what is actually happening, the dynamics between the two.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to be addressed like that. If I was slipping, I would love for you to come to me and be like, "What are you doing?"
Right.
I'm blessed that my wife has no problem being really direct as well, because she'll let me know and I'll let her know in a
For
loving
better
way,
or
but in the
worse,
way that
right?
she needs to hear. Yeah, right. And yeah, ladies listening, don't be afraid to give it to us direct. And guys, sometimes I know a lot of guys have a hard time receiving that. They just feel like their wife is criticizing them. What do you have to say to those guys?
Well, let's talk to both, right? So for the guys, like, relax. All right, she loves you. If she's bringing it up, it means she still loves you. If she's quiet or dismissive, it means she's tapped out. So when a woman actually comes to you and says things, she's taking a real risk. There is a real risk for women. Um, Physical violence, emotional neglect, sexual abuse, gaslighting, making her feel stupid and inferior. These are all things that women rightfully, in a lot of ways, complain about. And so if she has the audacity, the courage to come to you and say, "Hey, not cool. What's going on? Not cool." What that actually means is I still love you and there's hope in this. So, gents, drop the ego, listen to her. Now, you may not totally agree with her. You don't have to agree exactly, but you can acknowledge that she sees a problem. It's the best analogy I heard for this. Oh, who was it? Adam Grant, or no, not Adam Grant. Adam Lane Smith. He does a lot of work on connection types, whether you're an avoidant or a disorganized or an anxious attachment. And he gave me a really great analogy. He said, a woman's job, as if it were in business, is to come to you and communicate problems. And then you, as the man, are the CEO of what's going on. And your job is to fix problems. So if she comes to you and says, "Hey, something's going on," it's not your job to dismiss it. It's your job to say, "Tell me about that. I wasn't aware. What's going on? Give me the insight. What does that mean? I'm confused about that. I didn't see that. Help me understand that." And then as the CEO of your family, it's to say, "Okay, yeah. All right, babe, you feel disconnected from me? As a CEO, my solution is we create a weekly date night.
Mm.
Or if you feel like my drinking is concerning you, okay, amplify it 300%. She's 300% more worried about it than what she's saying. And okay, well, let's come up with some rules. Maybe we have a cocktail on Saturday night when we go out, and I don't drink outside of that. And we'll come up with some rules. Your job as a man is to be the CEO. Her job is to come to you and say, "Hey, this is not working with the relationship." Guys can't see that as well because we're not relational, we're directional. So if I come to you and I say, "Hey, bro, you're messing up," I don't really consider as quickly as a woman would consider the fact that that might have hurt your feelings because I don't really care. I just know you're messing up and I want you to get better. A woman will never say that as directly because she's indexed the way you feel about it. Right. So if a woman were to come to you and say, "Hey, you're messing up," she might be right, but she's indexed this thing that guys don't generally do, which is, "Oh, how would he feel if I said that to him?" Which is why they soften the blows, even though they're feeling extreme levels of anxiety or frustration or resentment. They just don't communicate it real well. And I understand why they might not, if I'm being honest about it.
Yeah, so there's the signs. There's the signs. She's going to bring it to you in some way. Going back to what you had brought up about your conversation, I'm worried about your drinking. And we need to amplify that worry by 300% and know that she's probably been sitting with this for a while. And our work is to really ensure that we're aware of our unconscious reaction to that, to fight that, and to say one of my favorite mantras was, well, okay, maybe that's true. maybe that's true. Maybe there's something there. Maybe I do have a drinking problem. Okay. And get curious and ask questions.
I remember this was probably 6 months prior to her telling me she wanted a divorce. We took the kids camping. I've got 4 kids, and we took them camping. And one night, I think it was the first, we did 2 or 3 nights. And the first night we were there, she said, we put the kids down to bed, and she said, "Hey, are you going to have a drink?" And I was like, "No, I didn't bring any alcohol. So no, not planning on having a drink. I was just planning on camping with you guys." And I'm not kidding, man. In hindsight, her face lit up like a Christmas tree. I mean, she was so ecstatic that I wasn't going to have a drink that night. And I didn't really think about it at the time. And I was like, what? Like, why was that? That was weird. Like, why was she so thrilled about that I wasn't going to have a drink while we were on our camping trip? And then we got home on maybe a Sunday afternoon or something, and I had a drink that night. And she was so bothered, like visibly bothered, that after 2 or 3 nights I hadn't had a drink. And the minute I got home, I had a drink, and she was so bothered. I'm like, what is the problem here? And what I didn't do is I didn't do the 300% rule. When she was excited about it, that should have been an indicator to me that was a palpable acknowledgement of the fact that she didn't want me to drink. She's like, "Oh God, thank you. Like, you're not going to drink. You're going to be fully present with us. You're going to care about us. You're going to be present. You're not going to get drunk. You're not going to pass out." That's what she was saying. She didn't say that blatantly, but that's what she was saying because of that 300% rule, if we're going to call it something. Mm-hmm. And I would just caution men that whatever she says, amplify it, man. Good and bad, by the way. If she comes up and she gives you a hug, like let's say you're maybe cooking dinner for your wife and she comes up and wraps her arms around you or gives you a little shoulder massage, that's not nothing. Amplify that by 300% too, because she's busy. She's got kids running around, and she's probably got work, and she's got her girlfriends who are stressed out, and she's got drama, and her mom and sister are arguing, and she's got all this other bullshit she's dealing with, and still she came and gave you a massage. Amplify that shit by 300%, because that's what it takes for her to be able to communicate the way she does.
Yeah, I think that's especially important when she stays at home with the kids. I think that's my situation. A lot of guys inside of the Order of Kings have a similar situation. That's especially important because of everything that she's carrying in her nervous system. It's hard to break out of that and get into connection and then want to come and like put her hands on you. Especially most women are not that naturally physical. You can unlock that, but it's not going to be her go-to. So that needs the 300% rule as well. And wrapping up your point from earlier is once this happens, we're directional. It is on us to own the direction of the relationship and actually do something. Then you brought up having a date night. One of the things that I think is so important is just being real with each other at the end of every night. Like what's good? What are you struggling with? What was hard today? What are you looking forward to? What are you not looking forward to? And maybe that's a weekly thing where you guys are sitting down and actually talking about, and Jordan Peterson talks about the state of the union, but just like, I saw you do this awesome thing this week. Here's one area that I feel like I'm dropping the ball, and have those real conversations. It can be a date night too. And I think that way too many people are not doing that. We're just doing the autopilot thing. And then it gets to, I'm worried about you drinking.
Yeah. Well, and I would say, since we're talking about divorce, and a lot of guys probably in your organization and within mine, will have these conversations. Their wife will come up to them 2 or 3 years after they've been thinking about it. They got the logistics planned out. They've talked with their girlfriends. They've talked with their mom. They've talked with their attorney and their legal team, and they'll come to you and say, "Hey, I'm ready to separate, or I'm ready for a divorce." And, it's a really frustrating time. But what I would say to those guys is there's something that's very counterintuitive, because we as men, like you said, are directional. and we're problem solvers. So what men will slip into when the woman in their life comes to them and says something like this is they'll slip into puppy dog mode, where now all of us, and I did this too. So I'm not pointing fingers at anybody that I haven't done this for myself. And this is part of the reason I know why it doesn't work is all of a sudden she comes to us and she's like, hey, I want to separate, or hey, I want to divorce, or hey, I want to move out. And we start doing all the projects that we said we do. We start doing all the dishes and chores around the house. We start saying yes to everything. We don't rock the boat. We start taking her on date nights, and we do all of these things that we think she wanted. And here, it's not bad. Like you as a man are trying to be in integrity. You're like, oh shit, this is important. Fix it. But here's how women interpret this without exception. You are manipulating me. That's what she's saying, subconsciously or consciously. You're manipulating me. You're only doing this to get me back. And once you get me back, if that happens, then we will slip right back into old patterns. What she is not looking for is for you to be that puppy dog that follows her around and does and says all the things that you think she wants you to say and do. What she wants you to do is to lead yourself. She wants to know that you acknowledge you have a problem. So for me, one of the things that I did that was good is I immediately started going to AA. I immediately started getting therapy, online therapy. And I did that for me. I wanted to get sober. I wanted to figure out what the problems were. I wanted to get to the root of it. I didn't do it to win her back. I didn't do it to rescue the marriage. I just thought to myself, man, if I'm going to move forward in life, then I've got to do the best things for me, regardless of how she feels about it. And this is I have a friend, his name is Keith Yackey. He runs a program called The Married Game. And he said this to me because I called him during this time. And I said, bro, here's what's going on. Like, help me. And he said, Ryan, the only play that you have in your playbook right now is to be the kind of man that you should have been all along, not to win her back, not to save the marriage, but only because that's what a good man would do. And when a guy can get real with that and he can really wrap his head around doing the right things for the right reason, not to get her back, not to win her back, not to manipulate her, not to show her how wonderful he is, but just because that's in integrity with who he knows himself to be, that's what becomes attractive to women. Now, in my case, it was too little too late, and I was digging a hole under my feet while I did all the puppy dog behavior, do all the dishes, do the chores, tell her how wonderful she was, like write her little notes and things like that. And I hadn't done that for a decade. And all of a sudden she's like, what the hell is this? Oh, he's manipulating me. He's gaslighting me. He's just trying to do this to win me back. And I don't feel like that's the reason I was doing it, but looking back on it now, subconsciously, yeah, of course that's what I was doing. And you can't fault a man for trying that. Like, we'll try anything. And I think that's actually virtuous. It just doesn't work. So virtue and prudence can sometimes be two different things.
Yeah, it's a problem, that puppy dog mode, when it's coming from, and she can feel this when it's coming from that place of anxiety underneath.
Yes.
It's like, I need to do this. And there's that neediness, and she can feel that always. And I feel that if you can't get to a place of, well, this is service, I'm doing this to be of service and to be all in this relationship, and instead it's this needy anxiety, this puppy dog, I need to fix this and win her back, it just pushes her away more.
It's the energy of it. So I'll give you a specific example. When this whole thing went down with my ex-wife, I stopped doing things that I was doing. Like jujitsu was a big part of my life at the time, and I stopped going to class as regularly. I remember I went to a week-long jujitsu camp where I was supposed to be there for 5 or 6 days, fully there, 100% there. And I came back to my house. I drove 45 minutes to come back to my house. And she was bothered by that, because that's the puppy dog thing, right? Like, oh, the puppy dog needs to go back and get validation and fix things. You know what would have been better for me is to force myself. And guys, sometimes you have to do this, is to force myself to say, nope, I'm not coming back. I'm going to go for 5 or 6 days. I'm going to hang out with my boys. I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow, I'm going to develop, but I'm going to do it for me. And in hindsight, if I would have done that, that would have been significantly more attractive to her. And you can explain it. I'm not saying that you have to just ghost her, but what I would have done in hindsight, looking back, I would have said, "Hey, babe, look, I know we're going through this really difficult time. And you know as well as I do, I don't want this. I want to salvage and build the relationship. But I also realize that I need to work on myself. There's a lot of deficiencies I have. I realize you probably need some space mentally, emotionally, and physically. And so I'm going to take the next 5 days. It's going to be really painful for me. I'm going to want to come back. I'm going to want to call you. I'm going to want to have these discussions. I'm going to want to hash things out, but I'm not going to because I need help that you can't give me. Not because you're inferior, just because this dynamic clearly isn't working. So I'm going to go hang out with my boys and I'm going to go do wholesome things with them. Like, I'm not saying hang out with your boys and go get sloshed in Vegas for the weekend, clearly, right? Like, the fact that I would even need to throw that disclaimer out there is a little upsetting, but sometimes I do. Like, go do a wholesome activity, go to a jujitsu camp, go camping, go on a hunt with your guys, like go on a golf trip for 3 days, and tell her like, "Hey babe, I'm going out with these guys, good guys. They're all married. I need some input. I need some advice. I need some feedback. I need to just get away. I need to build my health, mental, physical, emotional health. And when I come back, I feel like I'm going to be a better person." So I just want to explain that to you. And that's what I'm doing. She would actually appreciate that more than you just clinging on to her and trying to, salvage everything that you guys once had.
Yeah. Being the man that you should have been the whole time and making
Exactly.
sure that's coming from you got to find the groundedness and get out of that anxiety, get out of that puppy dog, because that's going to push her away so much more. So once we have heard this separation, divorce, once it's been brought to us, what else is next? So one, I need to start doing the things I should have been doing the whole time, not from anxiousness, but being that man. What else do we need to know? What else do we need to do?
So that's one thing that we talk about. I'm going to pull up something here real quick so I can actually go through a couple of thoughts that I have on this.
Yep.
So I've got a program. It's called Divorce Not Death. And because I really saw so many guys struggle, and frankly, men in my personal orbit who have taken their lives after divorce. And I don't want that to happen. So we built this program called Divorce Not Death. And in that program, we go through 8 modules. And one of those modules is what you just said. It's called Make Yourself the Project. And that's what you need to do. Men love projects. We like to build things. We like to fix problems. We like to work with our hands. You can do that. You can do that with yourself. Going to the gym, finding a hobby, finding good friends, building your business, building your wealth, building yourself. These are things that we can do as a man. So that's one of the modules. And we have like goal setting and planning and everything else that goes with that. Another module is new roles, new rules. So now you're in an entirely new role. And I often joke with guys who are going through this process that you move from doing half of the things 100% of the time to doing 100% of the things half the time. And that's a real challenge. Like I knew this when I had to cook my kids' first meal by myself. I haven't cooked for 2 decades. And even before that, I was cooking top ramen and hot dogs in a microwave. And now all of a sudden my kids are hungry and I'm like, I don't know how to make spaghetti, the most basic meal that you could ever make, right? Or I have alimony, spousal support and child support, and that's taking a toll on my finances. So I actually have to get a hold of my finances. But you have new roles, new rules, and that is really jarring for a lot of men. Finding a band of brothers, finding hobbies, building your professional team. That's your CPA, that's your attorney, that's your insurance guy, so that you are able to protect your rights as a father. I'm not saying all women do this, but a lot of women do, is they will become very vindictive, conniving, backstabbing. And now this is a game. It is a game. And if you don't know the rules of the game, then you're going to lose the game. And trust me, she knows. You want to know why she knows the rules of the game? Because she's had 2 years on average of preparation before you even knew there was a problem. So she's got a 2-year head start. She's got her legal team. She's got people who have gone through this before. She's talking with other people about your finances, about your situation. You know what else she's doing? Logging all of your texts, logging all of your emails, making notes about what you've said and what you've done and what you haven't done and what you should do. She's logging and storing all of that shit. And I'm not saying that women are evil. Generally, I'm not saying that. I'm saying she's had 2 years. If I knew I was going to go to battle with somebody and I had 2 years to prepare, I will win that battle. Absolutely, I will win that battle. So building your legal team so you can protect your rights as a father. You can protect your financial rights. You can protect your rights to see your kids. Like, there's a lot that goes behind the scenes in this. And my goal is to really help guys who are facing this currently up to about 12 months post-divorce. If we can navigate that in 12 months relatively successfully, then the subsequent months and years are much easier to manage.
Two things coming out of that. And the second one is another big, broad umbrella. But the first one is you brought up father's rights laws. And this is something I'm surprised that guys don't know about. And we never think that we need to know about. But what are some of the most important things that we need to know about father's rights? And then what else? What's the next step in that 12-month process after this has begun?
Let me make sure I understand. So what are some things that we need to know with regards to father rights is number one?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Let's start there. So the first thing is that the courts generally, broadly, are skewed towards women when it comes to parental rights. They just are. Even as a young child, and in this case, it was warranted, but as a young child, my mom went through a divorce with my father, and so she got 100% custody, and that was warranted. So that might not be a great example, but they're naturally going to gravitate towards the woman when it comes to parental rights. And again, they're going to document everything that you do. So what I tell the guys is I'm like, don't get mad with her. You can be mad. You can be frustrated. You will, but don't ever put that out in public towards her. If guys in my group who are upset and they're mad and they're pissed and they're furious, then I tell them, you come to me first. You come to one of the guys, the other brothers in the thing, and you say, hey, dude, I got a call and I got a vent. And you can call me names. You can tell me how big of a bitch she is. You can do all the things, but you're not going to do that to her. And you're certainly not going to put it in writing. I see guys do this all the time. They'll send this drunken text at 2 a.m. about how their wife is an asshole and why she's horrible. And believe me, that text is saved and it is admissible in a civil court. And the judge is going to look at that and say, yeah, this guy's unhinged. Yeah, let's go ahead and file a protective order because of the 5 texts that you made at 2 a.m. when you were drunk. We're not doing that. This is a game. So you come vent to us, and then everything that you put out to her is respectful, is amicable. I'm not saying be a puppy dog. You can still push back, but you're going to do it respectfully and amicably. You're going to document everything. You're going to get your financial house in order. You're going to make sure that your home is a good living space for your children in a safe environment where you have beds and clean places to live. And, you know, if she complained when you were married about you not being able to cook dinner, you're going to take a online culinary course and you're going to record it and you're going to document it because all of those things are admissible. And so when you go into a court of law and the judge says, I don't know if you're suited to be able to do this, you could say, well, you know, judge, I actually just went through an 8-week culinary course on how to prepare meals for my family. I actually just bought 2 new mattresses and got a new apartment in this side of town that's a lot safer because this school district was important. Like, this is the game. And it's hard because you don't want to be at odds with her, but you want to play the game well on behalf of your children. Let me say that clearly. On behalf of your children. I have this thing, I call it the 10 commandments of divorce. And I think the 8th or 9th commandment in there, not in any particular order, is I will not weaponize the kids against her, because it's not about her. It's about your children. And so everything you do is on behalf of your children, and you document everything. So when you go into that civil court and the judge says, hey, you know, she brought up this issue about you drinking, you could say, actually, and here's one thing I did. It never got called into question, fortunately, but she could have called into question my drinking. Absolutely, she could have. And what I did when I went to AA is I literally have an AA journal. So there was, you know, 12 to 15 to 20 weeks of me. Hey, I went to AA tonight. Here's the date. Here's the location. Here's an overview of what I talked about. I did that after every single AA meeting because I knew that if I had to go into court and battle with her, I could show the judge and say, yeah, drinking was an issue, but I've been to AA for the past 20 weeks. And here's all my notes. Here's what I learned. Here's my sobriety. Here's everything I'm doing. This is why it's so important to be prudent, because a reasonable judge is going to look at that and say, oh yeah, we'll toss that argument out because you're clearly addressing it. This is the game that needs to be played in these situations.
Yeah. So be the man that you should have been the whole time. Get your house in order in multiple ways. Not just your physical health, but financially. Get your accounting under control, get your finances under control, get your legal team under control, everything, and keep notes. Learn how to cook and keep
document
notes.
It all. Document it all. If you were $20,000 in debt, show how you're paying that down. Show your amortization schedule. Show how you're making $100 a month extra. Show where you moved. Like take pictures of their living quarters. Take that culinary course. Document your AA and your therapy sessions. All of that stuff is admissible, and a judge will look at that favorably as if you do that. And by the way, she might not be doing that. So it's actually going to make her look foolish when she makes accusations against you. And you're like, actually, judge, here's 12 weeks of me proving the exact opposite of the argument that she's making. And you give the documentation. And now not only do you look more favorably, she looks foolish. And a judge will take that into consideration as well and believe that she might be vindictive, not actually telling the truth.
Yeah. We got about 10 minutes left. And I want to make sure that we get everything that we possibly can here in this amount of time that we have today. And I feel like we've covered that pretty well. But what about as we're going through this, as we're getting beyond this, the other things that we're struggling with as guys? The mental, the emotional toll. What's the toll that this is going to take once you get out the other side, if you get out the other side?
Well, you will get out the other side. It's just a matter of how, right? Like things will pass, tempers will dissipate, like things will get better. You know, I remember when I went through my divorce with my ex, when I would see her, I had this visceral disdain and disgust, even if I just saw her. And that was after the process that I went through where I just like wanted her when I would see her, and it brought up old memories and I wanted to win her back. And then it went to disdain. And now, you know, 3 years into this, it's indifference. I don't have a reaction. I still think highly of my ex, but I don't have any sort of visceral reaction where I'm disgusted or pissed off. It's like, no, that's my ex, and let me drop my kids off to my ex. And so it definitely will get better if you do the right things. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing is making yourself the project. And that means a couple of things. Finding hobbies that you are excited about. For me, hunting is a big part of my life. I love hunting. I love connecting with guys. I like going hunting. I like going into the woods. I'm building a canoe right now. That's something I've never done before. Woodworking, working on a project that I've never done. Like that's exciting to me. Building my business is exciting. Going to the gym is exciting because I'm seeing my body transform and I'm losing weight and building muscles that haven't been there for decades. That's exciting to me. And then building your band of brothers. And I want to talk about this for a minute because this is so understated for men. And you get this because of the work that you do. But guys, I want to tell you how easy it is. Very, very easy to build a good band of brothers. And there's about 3 places. Yeah. 3 general places where you can find good men in your area. It's very easy. So if you're listening, take notes on this. It's easy. And I'm going to keep saying how easy it is because everyone's like, it's hard to find. No, it's not. It's easy. Okay. Number 1, the men that you want to be surrounded with and build a band of brothers with, number one is they're at the gym. So they're doing strength training, they're doing powerlifting, they're doing jujitsu or some other form of martial arts. They're in a running club, they're in a hiking club. So the gym can mean a lot of different things, but they're working on their physical health. And if powerlifting is your thing, type in powerlifting in your area and you'll find half a dozen to a dozen gyms that specialize in powerlifting. Bodybuilding, if you're like, I want to be a bodybuilder, type in bodybuilder on Facebook, bodybuilder groups in my area. You'll find them. I promise you. So that's number one. Number two is they're going to church. And I don't care what, we don't need to get in the denomination. I'm Christian. We don't need to get in the denominations, but they're going to church. They believe in a higher power. They believe in something more important than themselves. They're working on behalf of long-term goals and visions. They have a righteous, virtuous code of conduct for their behavior, and that's where good men are. And the third one is they're at business functions in your area. So they're at Chamber of Commerce, they're at Rotary meetings, they're at Business Network International, and any other business type groups that you have in your area, and they're networking and they're getting to know each other, and you can go and you can meet the movers and shakers. If you don't know who's in your chamber, if you're not part of Chamber of Commerce, then you aren't serious about building a band of brothers. Like, go be part of Chamber. Go meet with the movers and shakers in your area every single week. Rub shoulders with the mayor, with the school district, the people who sit on the school district, the board, the people who are growing businesses. Like, go meet them. Okay, so that's step number one. That's easy. Like, everybody can do that. Again, gym, church, and chamber. Okay. Number two, you have to insert, this is the harder part, and I'll admit that, but you have to insert yourself into the conversations. So when I moved back to Southern Utah from Maine, and I'm from Southern Utah, we lived in Maine for about 3.5 years, moved back after the divorce. I went to a local jujitsu gym. It's the gym that I started training at. And I trained there for about 6 to 8 months before I moved to Maine and started training in Maine. I came back, I talked with the owner. I'm like, hey, I'd like to come back. He's like, cool. Yeah, love to have you back. Let's get you a membership fired back up and get you going. So the first day I was back, I trained for about an hour to 90 minutes, whatever it was. And after training, I was so beat, so exhausted. And I walked off the mats and I went to go change. And I looked over and there was about 6 or 7 men who were sitting in the middle of the mat. And they were all just talking shop. They were laughing and joking and they were just talking shop. And I said, okay, hold on. Like, I got to meet guys in the area. Like, I've got to connect with men in the area. So I stopped what I was doing, came back on the mat, and I just walked up and I'm like, hey guys, mind if I sit down with you? I'm new in the area and just trying to build some friendships and connect with some dudes. And they're like, yeah, come on in. Like, not a single one of them was like, no, fuck off, dude. Like, nobody says that. And so I sat down and I'm like, hey guys, like, again, I'm new in the area. Is there anything going on this weekend? Like fight nights or like anything, Super Bowl part? Like, is there anything going on this weekend that I should know about? And one of the guys is like, oh, actually, there's amateur MMA fights at the fairgrounds. I have an extra ticket. Do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to go. And so I went to fight nights with 6 dudes that I didn't know, hung out with them, had a good time, connected with them. 4 or 5 of them are still really close friends with me because I put myself out there. It's nobody's job to make you feel welcome. People think that. They're like, well, people should welcome me. And they should, but it doesn't happen like that. You have to actually go insert yourself into conversations. I do the same thing at the gym. Just the other day, this was on Christmas. I was at the gym. My kids weren't with me for Christmas, so I was feeling a little depressed, a little down. I'm like, you know what? Like, I need some social time here. So I went to the gym, and there wasn't very many people there. There's probably half a dozen people at the gym. And there was this guy who was working out on a machine next to me, and he had a sleeveless shirt on, and he had this really cool coat of arms tattoo on his shoulder. And he had his earbuds in. And so I was looking at him and I just tapped his earbuds and he took his earbud out. And I'm like, hey, bro, I saw your tattoo. Like, is that a military tattoo? Is that like a coat of arms? What is that? And he's like, oh, it's a coat of arms. And he said, I'm from Scotland and William Wallace is in my lineage. And Braveheart's one of my favorite movies. And we just started talking and I'm like, that's awesome, dude. So we started talking. I've been on a hike with this guy a couple of times over the past several months just because I said something about his dang tattoo. So we went and hiked and we've hung out and talked shop. He's a great business owner. He's given me good advice. I've given him good advice, but you have to put yourself out there. That I will admit is the harder part than going where the good men are. But if you do that 2-part formula, again, gym, church, chamber, and then secondary, you put yourself in the situation, in the environment, in the conversations, never, ever have a problem with meeting good men in your area.
Yeah, I I don't have a problem with the second one. My wife is often like, "How do you know people's whole life stories when you come back?" I'm like, I just talk to people, but it's hard for
Yeah.
a lot of guys. And how you threw out the stats on a post not too long ago about I think it was over 40% of men feel isolated and alone. And I think it's 20% of men have one close friend, and I think that's debatable.
Yeah.
And we're not designed to go it alone, guys. And you can't, you want to be friends with your wife. You want to be best friends with your wife, but you also need to have brothers. Because like you said back at the beginning, nobody's going to give it to you straight like a true brother.
Right. And also, with all due respect to our female counterparts, she doesn't know what it's like to be a man. She doesn't know what it's like to have the mortgage payment just weighing heavy on you. She doesn't know what that's like because you've always paid it. She doesn't know what it's like to be a brand new father and not know how to do this because your dad was either absent or a POS. She doesn't know what that's like. Now, I'm not saying she doesn't have her own issues. She does, her female issues, but she doesn't know what male issues are like. So if a woman comes to me and says, "Oh, I know your dad wasn't around and here's what you should do." It's like, okay, what do you know about it? But if a friend says, yeah, if a friend comes to me and is like, "Hey man, like, I know what it's like to be a new father. I remember when I had my first kid and my dad just was a total jerk. And I was a jerk for a lot of years. And I wish I would have done X, Y, and Z sooner." I'm like, okay, I, I can respect that. I can get behind that. I can take that with some credibility because you know exactly what it's like. And a woman, with all due respect, I'm not trying to be dismissive or rude to our female counterparts, but she just doesn't know. The same way you don't know what it's like to be a woman. I don't know what a period is like. I don't know what menopause is like. I don't know what having drama with your sister or sister-in-law and mother. Like, I don't know what that's like. I don't know why you react that way. It's warranted. You can act how you want. I mean, all women seem to, so something's going on, but I don't know what it is. So you need to have your lady friends and you can work that shit out because I don't know how to work that out with you.
Yeah, it's it comes back. It brings me back to your point that you made earlier as well. As we have to get curious. We have to develop and it's a skill, the skill of curiosity and the skill of empathy, really, really trying to the best of our ability feel into what's going on. Because I can't understand what it's like to be a woman, what it's like to be my wife. It's work. And you're either going to put in that work at coming back to our point of become the man that you should have been the whole time and get to work on yourself and get your house in order, or you're not, and you're going to be disconnected.
Yeah,
we're coming close to time here, Ryan. I feel like we could do this for 3 hours.
I'm sure we could.
Anything else? If there's one other thing that you wanted to say that we haven't hit today, what is that?
I don't know that we need to come up with something. I think the biggest thing is if I were to put a little bow on this conversation, here's something that's interesting, and it's a good question you're asking, but sometimes we're always looking for what's bigger, what's better, what's next, what's the other tip, what's the other thing. And while I appreciate our desire as men to find the best route, what I might suggest to you is that you already have all the answers and you're not doing it to the nth degree. I use I use sports analogies a lot. And I remember years ago, it was when Peyton Manning, at some point, one of his Super Bowls, I don't remember which one, and I can't remember who he was playing, but they were interviewing a cornerback or a safety of the opposing team. And it was either about Peyton Manning or Tom Brady. Again, I'm like kind of hazy, but the point remains. A reporter had said, "Hey, how do you feel about going up against, let's just say, Tom Brady? How do you feel about going up against Tom Brady?" And the defensive men said, "You know, we know everything he's going to do. We know all the plays in and out. We know all the moves. We know all the audibles. We know his cadence. We know all of it. We know all of it." And the reporter said, "Oh, so you guys will fare pretty well then?" He said, "No. At the end of the day, we're still playing against Tom Brady." And what that said to me is that there's this tendency to believe, especially with social media, that the next thing you hear is the thing that you've always needed to hear. But what I would contend is the thing that you've already heard just needs to be taken to the nth degree. And you don't need to worry about having 1,700 plays. You need to get really good at about 5 to 10 plays. And if you got good at those 5 to 10 plays, the other 100 that you were thinking about wouldn't actually matter because your life would be amazing. And so I could tell you, yeah, I could give you all sorts of advice. I could give you a lot more pointers and tips. But if you just decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to church, the gym, and chamber this week, and you did that every week for the remaining 46 weeks or whatever we have of the year, your life would drastically change. If that's all you did, your life would drastically change. So I'm not going to add anything else. I'm going to say go deeper.
Yeah. Yeah, it's those 5 plays, 5 foundational plays that you know that you should have been doing the whole time. It's not the fancy things. It's not adding on another 5 or 6. It's those ones that have been there that you should have been doing the whole time. And you know.
Yes, sir.
You know. All right, brother. You got something coming up. You got a program coming up.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking a lot about divorce and separation. If there's guys who are dealing with that, maybe they just got hit with it. Maybe they decided, you know, and we do have a contingent of guys who join our programs who are like, hey, I decided to be out. Maybe that was because of infidelity or years of trying things that didn't work. It doesn't really matter where you're at. You're still going to go through similar problems, whether you initiated or she did. But we've got an 8-week course that we take men through these modules. There's a community associated with it. So you're going to be talking with guys who are in the same boat as you and some who have rode a little further ahead of you just because of the timing. And we've got all these tools and resources available to you. So if you go to divorcenotdeath.com, you'll find the 8 modules that we offer. You'll find 5 traps that most men fall into. Mental collapse, emotional turmoil, financial catastrophe, complete isolation, and gosh, I can't remember the last one right offhand. But you'll figure out what those are, and we'll work you through what you need to do to improve your situation and make your life a whole lot better.
Awesome. Deathnotdivorce.com.
Yes, sir. No,
And
divorce, not death.
Divorce.
Divorce,
Death,
not
divorce.
death.
Divorce, not death. Don't mix up the D's.
Yeah, don't conflate. Maybe I
Divorce,
should buy the other one too, just to point people in the right direction.
And redirect it to the right one.
That's right.
Where else can we find you, Ryan?
I'm most active on Instagram at Ryan Michler, Michler. Or you can listen to the Order of Man podcast and figure out a bunch of other stuff that we've got going on.
Definitely go there. It's full of the absolute best stuff.
I appreciate it, man. And I appreciate this opportunity. You reached out a couple of weeks ago, and I know we've kind of gone back and forth, but it means a lot that you have enough belief that you're like, hey, Ryan, come on the show and let's talk about some things. And that actually is not insignificant to me. That means a lot to me. And I just want to thank you for sharing your platform with me. You don't have to do that. And you did. So I appreciate it.
Guys need this, man. More than ever. We need this. We need to talk about the stuff that we otherwise don't. And
yeah,
that's it, guys. Thanks for being here and have an uncommon day. Peace.